Anyway, I'm T. Clark. I'm a contractor here in Spartanburg. My story, he's already told a lot of what I was going to say, so now my whole script, I got to rewrite it or whatever. But anyway, I'm just going to tell a little bit about my personal life, and I've always been interested in supplements and stuff since my stepmother gave me a book on vitamin supplements years ago. And if you're deficient in magnesium, for example, you get restless leg syndrome. A lot of women get that. I've seen a lot of people use that and get off of it. Well, marijuana, to me, from what I've learned, is similar. It's something like Bill said. It's something you have to have for optimal health, and I'm going to explain why. 2 years ago, I was like most of you here, including Bill. I had no idea that there was any health benefit to cannabis. I met this person, and some people warned me, said, yeah, he's a pot farmer, and his mother thinks he's a tomato farmer. So they brought it up, and he said, yeah, you can cure cancer for $1,600. I said, what? Because most all of my dad's 9 siblings died with cancer. So, my ears perked up, and well, I had 10 days to sit in an ICU in Texas where my daughter was. That's where I met the guy. And so I got on my phone and started reading about it. And I came home, and I still wasn't real convinced. I was curious. So I kept reading in my spare time, kept reading. Well, then I came across an article that said even the people that you talk about, the drug people that you work with and Bill, even the people out here on the street, the teenagers that are smoking it, even casual use, the study showed, can prevent Alzheimer's. And I watched my grandmother go through Alzheimer's to the point she just sat in the chair and stared, and she didn't recognize it. And then kept reading, and read another study, same thing. Even that it could possibly reverse it, and in the early stages, or arrest it, And my mother died with it. Her sister died with it. Her mother, and that's unbelievable because there's no cure for it. Most things it won't cure. It will cure. Anybody got Crohn's disease or know somebody that's got Crohn's disease? Crohn's disease is it's an intestinal something to do with your digestive system or whatever, and it's very painful, can be debilitating. Well, I read that it can cure Crohn's disease. That's one of the things it can cure. Probably the most prevalent cancer I've read about that it cures is breast cancer. We even have a friend, one of her friends has breast cancer, had it. And I tried to talk to her about it, but she works for Milliken and they get drug tested. So she didn't want to lose her job, so she went to chemo route. All her hair fell out, sickness and everything else. And she's well now. She just got her checkup. Another friend of mine who's a doctor in Georgia, been seeing all my Facebook posts about it, and he sent me a message one day, says, I got stage 3 cancer. He said, you think this CBD can help me? And I said, well, from everything I've read, you need a full plant like Bill does. And so, I guess a week or so later, he sent me another message, and he said, well, I got stage 4 now. Just got back from the doctor, and it's bone cancer. And he says, the doctor told me the best I can hope for is just to manage it. And he's a little older than me, I think. Well, that was in September last year when he was in bad shape. And so all of his Facebook posts kind of just went to nothing. And I said, well, I guess he's preparing to die. Well, January I posted something. And he commented that he had just got his PET scan back and that he is 100% cancer free. And that was stage 4 bone cancer. I don't really know about it. I'm not a doctor. I'm an electrician. So, but he's one. And then I got another friend. His dad is a truck driver. Of course, he's a DOT license. He gets tested, so he'll lose his job if they ever catch him. And he has prostate cancer. And PSA test. All you men over 50, I guess, have probably been tested. His PSA number was over 800. Mine's been tested, but it was, I think, maybe 2 last time, a few years back. Well, after I think about 6 weeks, his PSA test was below 4 from using cannabis. I don't know where he got it, what he did, but it's cured his. And he's got it in his bone now, I understand, where it metastasized. Well, I found that CBD, which you can buy, as he said, in stores and some places, CBD shuts the cancer down so that it can't spread. And THC and CBD together, and somehow, I don't know the specifics, but the plant has a lot of different compounds in it, and they say they work together. So you can't take just one or the other or the other. You combine them and they work better. They may still help, but when you combine them in the full plant, then they work better together. So I think it's criminal for our government to deny us this. I think it's criminal because, you know, what they're doing is they're forcing me, if I don't break the law, or Bill, or April's daughter, and all these other moms I know that have kids with seizures, it's forcing them to have to go through this and have to suffer and even die. So by it being illegal, they make everybody who has something like this either break the law or move to somewhere like Colorado or Maine where they can get it legally. And I don't think people should have to move. Your zip code shouldn't determine whether you live or die, you know? And so that's what we're working for. Last month, a 9-year-old girl died just a few days before her 10th birthday. And she had glioma. And Tom Davis, who you guys know, most of you have heard about, I'm sure, he had a bill to expand the current law, which is very limited, to allow people with arthritis, or cancer, glaucoma, all sorts of diseases and sicknesses to use it. And so he brought her and some other people up there and said some of them were snickering and carrying on and, you know, making fun of them under their breath or whatever. And that's kind of sad, you know, that grown people do that. Some of the other conditions, migraines, seizures. Another one is veterans with PTSD. We all love our veterans, I think. And because it affects their memory, they can't, you know, if something's bothering you in your worry ward, you can't get it off your mind. And these guys have seen their friends' arms blown off, guts fall out, whatever. And it's traumatic. I couldn't imagine. I was in the Navy, but I never saw anything like that. But this helps. They have to get high. And when they get high, they forget about all that. And their mind, you know, it'll go on to something else, and it won't just sit there and churn. And that's why they say 22 a day are killing themselves in this country with PTSD. And this can fix it. Now, the U.S. government, surprisingly, they have several medical patents on marijuana. Okay? The United States has multiple patents on the health and benefits of marijuana. But at the same time, and we know how this is, even with big companies, right hand don't know what the left hand is doing sometimes, but it's a Schedule I drug. Schedule I drug is heroin, cocaine, meth, and marijuana. Marijuana cannot kill you unless maybe a bale of it falls on your head or something. And the two things that are supposed to, two criteria that's supposed to be met for it to be a Schedule I is, one, is highly addictive, which it's not. Studies have shown that it's less addictive than tobacco or alcohol. And number two, it has to have zero medical benefits. Well, even cocaine has medical benefits, but it's on the list too. And to say that it has zero medical benefits when they hold all these patents, we know that's a lie. Now I want to tell you about a few of the popular myths that we've all told. I was this way a few years ago. I didn't know anything good about it until 2 years ago. One of the things that comes up to me a lot, besides addiction, is driving while under the influence of it. Two federal studies always, Nixon tried it with the Schaefer Commission. If you want to look that up, Schaefer Commission said, we're going to put it to bed once and for all. We're going to show that it's bad. Well, the commission came back and said, hey, it's not bad. And it shouldn't be illegal. They did it anyway. Nixon did. Mr. Nixon. I remember Nixon. Didn't get to vote for him. I was too young. But they did 2 studies, and these are fairly recent studies, that showed, one of them showed no statistical difference between driving stoned and driving straight. Or maybe not stoned, but driving after using it. They had it, they admitted it or whatever. And these were accident studies. A second study showed that drivers using cannabis were less likely. They were less likely than sober people to have an accident. It's not like alcohol where you're oblivious to your surroundings and you just, okay. So, you just can't maybe do a lot of math. And unlike Bill, I did smoke it. I smoked it a lot in high school. I never had an accident. I had a souped up car, and I remember driving back one night in this hot rod Camaro, and I was doing 35 down the highway. 35. So even if I had to hit something, it probably wouldn't have been too bad. But it was too fast for me to see. You know, it was too much coming too fast, so I just had to slow down. Then I went to Navy, and Reagan had instituted this zero tolerance policy, so I had to quit. The brain, Parkinson's, and some other, maybe MS, are brought on by a lack of the ability to brain, in some cases, to produce new brain cells. Federal government used to tell us it kills brain cells. Actually, studies have shown that it creates new brain cells, and it actually helps in certain memory skills. Overdose, I already told you can't overdose. Anyway, I guess that's about it. But you know, the reason it affects so many, and this, what I told you, is probably the tip of the iceberg. And even in the case of him, they didn't even know. And for 80 years, the U.S. and the UN has promoted keeping it illegal. So to the point you couldn't even research it. But Israel has been researching it. And now the DEA made a decision a couple months ago to allow us to research it here. So at the present time, they say on average there's about 2 studies a month coming out showing results. And now that the DEA has relaxed the laws here, they'll be able to study some more. They want proof before they legalize it. I guess they want more. Their patents isn't enough, I suppose. But anyway, I hope if any of you, you know, at some point, if we don't die in an accident or something, we're all going to get sick with something. But understanding how the system works and what I've read about it, there's who knows how many other diseases besides Alzheimer's and diabetes that it can prevent that we just don't know about. But we're finding out more and more every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.